The Spine of Albion, The Discovery, The Michael and Mary Serpent. During the late 1980s, Hamish Miller and Paul Broadhurst further explored the enigma of the St. Michael line. Hamish had a great gift for dowsing energy currents, a sensitivity that evolved from a near-death experience. Together with Paul's articulate writing skills and meticulous research, they produced an account of their journey, dowsing the line starting on the coast of Cornwall near Land's End. However, instead of finding a straight line, Hamish detected a sinuous path of energy that weaved across the landscape, visiting prehistoric sites and Christian sanctuaries either side of the straight alignment. Hamish also discovered that at certain secret places of power, the line narrowed down to a point in the ground and reappeared a little further away in precisely the same manner. He realized that this unusual behavior was the result of another line of energy crossing with it to form what Hamish called a node. He found himself having to detune to follow this new line effectively, for, although similar in width and strength, it had a gentler and softer nature. This, they concluded, was a feminine current of energy. They soon discovered that two currents, one male, the other female, like the Chinese white tiger and blue dragon, followed the lay for the whole length of its course. Hamish also discovered that the currents form a node at various prehistoric sites, including Iron Age hill forts, mounds and stone circles, some located in medieval churches and others unmarked in the middle of a field. Over the centuries, those initiated into the underground stream of esoteric knowledge were aware of these secret nodes, regarding them as fortuitous places of yin and yang power, and, like the Chinese, built their temples and churches over them. In the course of dowsing the Michael and Mary lines of the St. Michael alignment, Miller and Broadhurst uncovered evidence that our ancestors had at one time manipulated these currents or lines of dragon force in order to exert greater control or authority over certain places of power. Their research was published in the book The Sun and the Serpent in 1989. Their discoveries have since motivated generations of Earth mystery enthusiasts around the world to rediscover and re-examine their own sacred sites. Modern researchers claim that these long-distance alignments are linked to a grid of networks or lines that circumnavigate the Earth, and that their crossing places or node points were utilized by man as their centers of religious practice. Today, the realm of science is drawing ever closer to realizing that metaphysics can explain some of the mysteries of the Earth, and that our planet is a living entity. This is known as the Gaia Principle. Often people make the comparison that the electromagnetic life force around the human body is similar in essence to that of the Earth's, the nodes relating to the acupuncture points of our own human body. In Chinese acupuncture, a chart of the life force or qi around the human body depicts 12 lines or meridians in the form of invisible channels under the skin, each paired with another linking the main organs. The acupuncture points are the node points of each meridian, considered to be the entrance and exit points for the vital energy surging within our body. The insertion of a needle into one of these nodes affects the corresponding parts of the body through which the meridian travels. This helps the energy to freely flow throughout the body. Qi consists of the opposite as well as the complementary forces of yin and yang. Yin represents the feminine elements, watery, dark, negative, and yang, the masculine elements, airy, light, positive. If the positive and negative forces are in balance, qi will flow smoothly throughout the body, whereas imbalance will create sickness and ill health. This concept also applies to the earth. Its sickness is termed by geomancers as geopathic stress, which comes from the Greek geo meaning of the earth and pathos meaning suffering or disease. It relates to irregularities in the Earth's magnetic field, which can be aggravated by a variety of natural and man-made features. Like the human body, many researchers believe that there are key crossing points of the Earth energy meridians at different places around our planet, and that our ancient ancestors marked these nodes with stone or earth monuments. Dowsers around the world, like Miller, have detected similar dragon currents and found that they are generally a few meters wide and avoid a dead straight course. The name dragon derives from the Latin draconem and the Greek drakon, meaning serpent. Throughout the world, folklore and legend refers to dragons and serpents as mysterious reptilian creatures that haunt the countryside and protect treasure in a dragon's den. They would repeatedly terrorize the local population from their lair, often located in curious-shaped hills, mounds, lakes, or springs. In British legends, the dragon consumed virgin maidens offered by the locals to appease its hunger or wrath until a brave knight rescues her by slaying the dragon. The earliest example of this depiction comes from the ancient Greek tale of Perseus rescuing Andromeda from the sea dragon. In many cultures, the dragon represents God's wrath or the destructive force of nature. In the Americas, the ancient tribes of the Toltecs and Aztecs sacrificed their people to the earth serpent in order to regenerate the fertility in the land. Unlike European societies, Eastern cultures still view the dragon as having great spiritual significance, corresponding to the primal forces of nature and possessing great supernatural powers. In Chinese mythology, only a hero with a pure heart can tame or destroy the dragon. Dragon Slayer legends are worldwide and date back to Mesopotamia and ancient Greece. According to British folklore, St. George, England's national hero and patron saint, saved the people of Uffington in Berkshire and Wormingford in Essex from a monstrous dragon. J.E. Hanauer in Folklore of the Holy Land 2003 refers to an early rendition of this medieval tale in Palestine, where a dragon had taken hold of a city's water supply at a fountain, refusing anyone water unless a maiden or youth was offered as a sacrifice. The locals, unable to destroy the serpent, were obliged to comply with the wishes or die of thirst. When all the youths had perished, it became the turn of the king's daughter, and as she was about to be devoured, Margerius, or St. George, appeared on a white horse and speared the monster through the eyes. Such allegorical tales as this have hidden meaning, for the night may characterize the new Christian doctrine, destroying the old serpent wisdom. There are many stories that recall the ancient practice of worshipping the earth serpent, whose power determined the success of the harvest, or even the cleanliness of drinking water. Further examples are found in many folk plays around the world, which link dragons with the fertility of the land. In Bavaria, the midsummer ritual of St. George slaying the dragon reaches its climax when the knight pierces a bladder of blood carried inside the effigy. Spectators then mop up the blood and spread it over the flax fields to animate the harvest. In Sicily, 2 loaves are carried in procession with the dragon effigy on St. George's Day, and were later broken into little pieces for farmers to bury in their fields to ensure the fertility of their crops. Beltane is a Celtic festival celebrated on May the 1st, which marks the beginning of spring. In towns and villages across Europe, Beltane festivals parade the effigy of a dragon through the streets to welcome or draw the fertility force into their environs to precipitate a good harvest. The slaying of the dragon was not the killing of the beast, but the fixing of its fertile qualities at a sacred place when it rises to its full power in the spring. There are many images of the dragon slayers, St. George and St. Michael's around the world, which depict them pinning the dragon to the ground without piercing it. However, when the dragon force is out of balance, the negative energy can be detrimental to our health. The practice of driving a stake in the ground to cure imbalanced earth energies, called by dowsers black streams, is a modern version of the dragon slaying act. In the story of Lud and Liphilius in the old Welsh myths, collectively called the Mabinogium, I think is how you say it, the whole country suffers from the effects of two dragons fighting at the centre of England, and by fixing the problem of the omphalos, either by removal or by staking to the ground, peace and harmony is restored once more. However, many of these tales and festivals suggest a spiritual aspect to the serpent or dragon force. Patrick McManaway, former chairman of the British Society of Dowsers, asserts that dragon lines are the pathways of connection in the universal matrix of consciousness, connecting people, places and events, past, present and future, carrying the dynamic flow of life force between and around all things. In the early 1980s, Colin Bloy, a master dowser and healer, researched these unseen, undulating currents of energy and became aware of the different qualities within them. He detected they were associated with certain frequencies that were either beneficial or detrimental to life, causing illness and disease. Where such energy lines impinged on a person's quality of life, he applied various healing techniques, usually on the nearest crossing point, which Bloy discovered reversed the negative effects. Copper rods inserted at certain points in the ground can neutralize the negative charge in the ground, and certain crystals have the ability to heal and cleanse an environment. The frequencies referred to by Colin Bloy are often difficult to detect, especially within the dragon lines, as they vibrate outside of human physical sensory perception. Consequently, the individual needs to spend time tuning into the landscape to become sensitive to these hidden energies. Those with a natural psychic ability and a strong connection with the landscape find it easier than most at identifying the paths of the serpent. Birds and animals follow the dragon currents during the migration season because they are naturally in tune with the innate earth forces, just as our ancient ancestors once were. Over time, Bloy realized that visualization was perhaps the most effective form of healing, a practice used by priests and magicians throughout the ages. There are plenty of instances where the power of the mind has proved to affect all sorts of healing and change, including the power of prayer. For it is the heartfelt intention that accompanies the thought processes involved with visualization that influences the outcome. Important to this process is that one must be strongly aware of the beneficial powers provided by the universe, which can be channeled through intentioned thought to the troubled area by a shaft of pure healing light, which is then envisioned to flood and dissolve the harmful influences, restoring harmony to the body or the land. Bloy founded the Fountain Group in 1981 to help heal communities disturbed by such problems as violence and discordance. Using his spiritual healing techniques, a network of groups made a real and positive difference to the lives of inhabitants living in the affected communities. Healers and dowsers would gather to send healing and loving thoughts to a focal point of the town or omphalos, such as a fountain or market cross. Often this healing would continue daily, revealing observable results such as reduced crime rate and a more positive mood among the people of the town. Dowsers also discovered that the energy field of the area had expanded and changed in frequency. Colin Bloy and Roger Brown, founder of the Fountain Group in Australia, discovered that when one is in a meditative state, the brain produces alpha rhythms, a frequency of around 8 Hz, which is the same as the pulse of the earth, its heartbeat and a rate associated with a feeling of unconditional love. Visualizing a surge of pure energy towards a certain area apparently alters the vibration of the ambient energy field, increasing a sense of well-being. Broadhurst and Miller, 2000. Earth mystery author Paul Devereux attempted to investigate these invisible energies in the 1980s at the Rollright Stone Circle near Chipping Norton in Oxfordshire, with the use of sophisticated equipment for a research-based venture called the Dragon Project. However, the results, even though controversial, proved inconclusive. Like the St. Michael alignment, many lays are orientated to certain solar, lunar, and stellar risings and settings, but some have no trace of dowsable energy. Their sole purpose appears to be to mark a sacred route or direction. Several Earth mystery investigators, however, have detected straight paths of energy dispensing from a building up of Earth forces at certain sacred sites, such as stone circles and prehistoric mounds. I also had an experience of this many years ago.